Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dion, and today we're doing a video where I talk about aesthetics that I will not be covering. I am an aesthetic-based YouTube channel or whatever, and I do get suggestions from you guys, and I always keep a running list of like people I want to cover, aesthetics I want to cover, and I love asking you guys like what current aesthetics you want to look at. I do also have like a running list of things that you all have suggested that I am not comfortable with making a whole analysis on. So that's what we're gonna do today. And I hope you guys are respectful of why I choose not to do this. If you disagree with me, that's also fine. I don't really care. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel because I post videos every Thursday. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the first aesthetic on this list that I put on this list specifically was the kawaii or Lolita aesthetic. So my first big aesthetic-based fashion video was Coquette, and in that video I talked about Lolita fashion. What I didn't realize is that when I was growing up between 2011 and 2015 on Tumblr, if you look up the hashtag Lolita, you will get the kawaii Japanese Lolita fashion, but you will also get fashion and aesthetic images based on Nabokov's novel Lolita, and I was very much on that side, on the you guys are like, oh, that explains so much. And so when I say Lolita, I mean gingham, I mean pigtails, I mean cherry coke, I mean like red lips, I mean what I now call Tumblr Lolita. There was a lot of confusion in the comments of that video, and despite like 50 people saying that's not what Lolita is, people still kept making comments, which is so nice because once the issue is resolved, you should definitely like keep talking about it. So I have gotten comments like, oh, why didn't you do that since like you misspoke about it? But that's the exact reason why I'm not going to do it, because it's not my culture. I don't know anything about Japanese Lolita or the kawaii aesthetics. I suppose I could learn and research it, but is that really my aesthetic to talk about? I feel like there would be so much cultural context and influences from magazines, movies, music that go into those aesthetics that I would simply just not get, or would have to do very extensive research on. And so because I don't know that much about it, that also means I can't really criticize it because I don't know it in and out. I don't know the cultural references or the aesthetic images around it, and what I get from Pinterest or TikTok or whatever isn't the whole truth, right? I mean, we talk about this in almost every aesthetic video, that what I see on Pinterest or TikTok is not reflective of the world and who can do this aesthetic, because Pinterest and TikTok tend to only post skinny white girls. And so if I base my whole aesthetic style analysis on Pinterest and TikTok videos, which I typically do, on an aesthetic that I don't know the context of, or I don't know the cultural references of, there's going to be so much that I miss and so much that's just going to be wrong. I mean, that's just like plain and simple. It is not my aesthetic to talk about, because when I look at things like dark academia or cottagecore, I can say, oh, it takes inspiration from Dead Poet Society or of Pride and Prejudice or whatever. But I don't know that in those. I mean, there's just years of cultural context that I just won't get. I mean, that's just plain and simple. So that's why I won't do it, because it's just simply not, it's not my culture, and I do not feel nearly educated enough to talk about it at all and do justice and give like a well-rounded style. I mean, like I would do a video and the whole video comment section would just be like, actually, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, cool, what was the point of me doing that? The next aesthetic that I will not be doing on this list that I've gotten a couple times is the baddie aesthetic. And I've asked, like, what do you mean by baddie? Because I'm 26, if you guys don't know. And so like when I think baddie, I think like the King Kylie era. But there's also like, I also think like the Pretty Little Thing influencer baddie, the Fashion Nova influencer baddie. So I don't really know what the baddie culture, I don't know what the 2022 baddie aesthetic is. I really don't, because when I think baddie, I think of like what a 2017 baddie aesthetic is. So that's the main reason, is that I don't really know what is considered baddie anymore. And that can be hard when you're looking for aesthetic images, because to use the example again, I know what cottagecore and dark academia looks like. So if the Google search of dark academia or the Pinterest search doesn't give me all that I want, I know what other terms to use to get that aesthetic. But with like baddie, I don't, because I don't know what the 2022 version of it is, I just don't feel privy to talk about it. I have a couple other criticisms on it. Another reason is that this is an entirely secondhand, slow fashion, thrifted fashion, and if we have to, buy new sustainable fashion channel. I really do not encourage in any of my videos, and will not encourage you buying clothes to fit the newest trending aesthetic. The whole reason why I do style analysis videos is to help you find things in your closet to adhere to those aesthetics, or help you find things on Poshmark or Depop or thrift stores to find clothes that fit that aesthetic. What my understanding of baddie aesthetic culture is, or what I think it is I think of the Fashion Nova Pretty Little Thing era, which goes against everything I believe in. Fashion Nova and Pretty Little Thing are, I'm sorry, they're horrible brands that overproduce fast fashion, that underpay their workers, that create so much waste, that honestly make pretty shitty quality clothing, if we're being honest. I mean, I've seen Fashion Nova and Pretty Little Thing things at the thrift store, and they're not exactly like well made. So it's just sort of like, yeah, I could tell you, oh, this is how you thrift like a baddie outfit, or this is how you create a baddie outfit in your own closet, but so much of it is contingent on micro trends and fast fashion. When I think of baddie influencers, I think of influencers that are sponsored by Shein, Fashion Nova, Pretty Little Thing, Zara, and that goes against everything I believe in. And so because those brands, when you think of baddie, when you think of Fashion Nova, Pretty Little Thing, and so because those brands go completely against what I believe in, it doesn't feel right to do the aesthetic. I had a similar issue with Downtown Girl, because the main brand behind Downtown Girl is Brandy Melville, a brand that purposely excludes anybody over a size small. I mean, they only carry one size, and it's about a small. So, and I use them as I did that video because you guys begged to do Downtown Girl. It was actually on this list. So there is hope for aesthetics on this list to come back, because I really was not going to do Downtown Girl, and then finally I did it. And I was like, you guys are going to hate me because I'm going to roast it, and then you guys love that I roast it. So, love it. I like that I can be negative on my channel and you guys don't get mad at me. Yeah, so because the baddie aesthetic is so linked with fast fashion, it also a lot of times can be quite appropriative of like Black culture, and often baddie influencers, the Instagram baddie, they blackfish, meaning they darken their skin so significantly that you think it's a mixed race or Black woman when it's really like a British person. Like it is a Prince Charles looking ass person who like is tanned to beef jerky. So there's a lot of appropriation behind it, I think, as well, which, I mean, that would make an interesting video, because I do have a criticism section in my video, in my style analysis videos. However, again, it's just between the fast fashion, between me not knowing really what the modern version of it is, and the fact that it's very fast fashion focused, and many of the influencers have been accused of blackfishing, and overall just like the terribleness of fast fashion for climate change and everything. It'll be a pass for me. I feel like in 2017 there was a very strong Instagram baddie, and I would be able to like tell you what that is, but for 2022 baddie, I have no idea who's considered a baddie anymore. I'm sorry, I'm a boomer. The next aesthetic that I probably will not, or I will not be doing, is the 90s supermodel aesthetic. I understand like the it girl, the 90s supermodel thing. It's very, very popular, and the model off-duty looks, but as I've spoken about in my last like 2 videos, I think, we have seen a trend go from the baddie body, the Instagram baddie body, big butt, big boobs, slim, thick, whatever, back to the Paris Hilton, you know, era of the 2000s that is like very, very skinny and not good. And with 90s supermodel, it's sort of that route. Same with Downtown Girl. I mean, they're all the kind of popular aesthetics now are just like skinny people wearing clothes, which we don't do. Again, that, I mean, I mentioned that in Downtown Girl, my Downtown Girl roast, basically. We don't, the 90s supermodel, okay, what does it take to be a 90s supermodel? Well, in the 90s, to be a supermodel, you had to be, you know, a 24-inch waist and like 100 pounds and 6 feet tall. And, you know, it's just like, okay, how is this relatable? Like, I can promise you that wearing a black blazer and jeans is not gonna look as good on you or me as it does on Naomi Campbell. Like, it's just plain and simple. Like, thin brows and heavy lip liner and all, you know, that 90s like a blue smoky eye. I can promise you the reason why that worked is because it was on Tyra Banks. Like, I would look like Rocky Horror. I would look like Dr. Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror if I did that. So, I mean, yeah, it's an inherently exclusive aesthetic that is contingent on a supermodel body. So why would I don't have a supermodel body. I'm assuming that like 90% of people who are watching this don't have a supermodel body. That's okay. But like, do we really need to learn about the fashion aesthetic that's not made for us? I don't know. It's also like, what is this aesthetic? I get there is a specific 90s supermodel makeup aesthetic, but like clothing wise, girl, what is it? Is it just skinny people wearing clothes? Cool, then I'm not interested. Next fashion aesthetic that I will not be doing for sure. There's one on here that I'm like, I go back and forth on it. I just don't know. One for sure that I'm not doing is the Mo Root aesthetic. I do remember this back on my pale grunge Lolita Tumblr days. Tumblr Lolita, not Japanese Lolita. Mo Root hashtag would also get in there on my feed. If you don't know what that is, it's morbid cute, which sounds cool, right? It sounds cute. But basically its entire personality trait is you know, being morbid and cute, right? Which can sound like, ooh, spooky, scary skeletons, like Addams Family, that vibe. No, mostly like sickly, self-harm, eating disorders, that kind of vibe. So Aesthetics Wiki, which, you know, if you are into fashion aesthetics, is the Bible. Mo Root, a name combining the words morbid and cute, is an aesthetic created in the early 2010s that expresses the dichotomy between hyper-feminine and childlike softness with grunge and American Gothic elements. Cool, right? Nothing wrong with that. It is the height. I mean, pale grunge was bad, but Mo Root is sort of the height of the Tumblr era where being broken was hot. With being, and I call it the Cassie complex or the Effie complex, or the Cassie complex from Skins, Cassie and Effie, who are so like wonderful and cool and hot and interesting, but like were extremely self-destructive with self-harm and substance abuse. And if you grew up watching Skins, like I did, that was cool. I was like, oh, I want to be like so damaged and like I remember like playing that up in high school. Like, it was just because that's just what you were valued for. Although it is cute, it's like Coquette, but like with knives. If Coquette met like Chucky, like it's frilly and pretty, but it's also like knives. And I remember actually back in I have a photo actually, this was in like 2011. I literally used to buy like Hello Kitty or like SpongeBob band-aids, like kids band-aids, and I would put them on my knees, both knees. I did not have a scratch. I would just do it to be like, Band-Aids. So I guess I'm being a hypocrite because clearly I've participated in mild Mo Root activities. Key values: depression, nihilism, vulnerability, religious guilt, and interest in the macabre. Depression is the key value? Really? Really? I'm on 150 milligrams of sertraline. I don't need an aesthetic whose key value is depression. That's already my brain's key value, okay? Write that down, Mo Root. So, like, I really don't want to talk about aesthetics that glorify eating disorders or self-harm. And I feel like 90s Supermodel or Mo Root really do go back, like they regress to that Tumblr era where women were hotter, broken, depressed, needing to be fixed. I'll kiss the scars on your skin. Bitch, just call the mental hospital. What? Like, yeah, I'm trying to be insensitive to anybody that struggles with self-harm or depression or anything at all. It's more so like, we don't need to be romanticizing it, because there ain't nothing romantic about it. It freaking sucks to be doing those things to yourself, to your body, to be going through it. And I don't want to have any participatory action in perpetuating those ideals. And with Mo Root, I feel like just so much of that energy is pumped into it. Like, on the surface, it's like cute and morbid, but really, like, when you dig deeper, it's just like gross and nasty. There's one more on here, but now I can't go back and forth. It is the pale grunge aesthetic, which is what I grew up on. We also call it Tumblr 2014 aesthetic, which I always find funny because there were so many aesthetics at that time on Tumblr. But the pale grunge aesthetic, which I had a big pale grunge era for sure, good, bad, and ugly. I just don't know about her. I don't know if I want to bring her up. The only reason why I feel comfortable with it is because I do feel like A, it's a well-rounded aesthetic. B, we've gotten distance from it. Like, yes, we're sort of like, oh my god, bring back the 2014 Tumblr era as like a joke. But it's not, it's sort of like when we brought back McBling. It's like we're doing it in a 2022 version. So I don't know, I go back and forth because it was toxic in like so many ways. I don't know about pale grunge because there's definitely a lot of material to talk about. I just don't know if it aligns with like the values of this channel and, you know, what topics I'm willing to cover or not. So that's going to conclude today's video. I hope that, again, you guys understand my reasoning behind it, and that you take these reasonings and apply it to other aesthetics. You might comment, like, now you guys know that if an aesthetic has to do with eating disorders or being is contingent on being hyper thin, it ain't happening. And if it's an aesthetic that's not, Western American culture, I might shy away from it just because it doesn't feel like my place to speak on it. I feel like that's why I cover like TikTok aesthetics, because I'm American and I'm on TikTok, so I'll cover American TikTok aesthetics. Definitely take these examples, keep them in your mind when you're suggesting aesthetics for me. So I don't want to disappoint anyone, but you guys don't pray for something that ain't gonna happen. I don't want you guys to be disappointed or think that I'm ignoring what you're suggesting, but I do have these boundaries on my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely like and leave a comment on what aesthetics you do want me to cover, because I always just like having a running list of suggestions. And thank you for letting me do this video. It was fun, kind of different, and I do hope that you guys enjoyed. And follow me on TikTok and Instagram because I post there every single day. And yeah, I've been really sassy this week. I got into a fight with someone on TikTok yesterday, which, number one rule, never take the bait. Just ignore the comment, or if you can't, just block them. There's no shame in blocking hundreds of people. That is okay. That's my advice for everyone today. And with that, have a happy day. I'll see you guys next week.